Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. During this lockdown, we are all spending a lot of time online, and many of us are finding and trying out interesting new mobile apps from the Google and Apple app stores. The clinic has stumbled across a term that many of us are not aware of, but is certainly gaining momentum, that it's now a concern to the clinic. The term is Fleeceware. Fleeceware. Fleeceware is not a new term, but it was a term coined by British security researchers who have been investigating it. And it simply refers to apps that charge an excessive monthly subscription fee after a brief trial period has ended, even if a user has uninstalled the app from their device. I recently found out the hard way, but thankfully it was not for a lot of money per month. Fleeceware is found in both the Google and Apple stores, so Android and iOS users alike need to be on the lookout for it. Fleeceware can be seen as a form of consumer fraud, but it is not malware. The app performs their advertised functions and are not overtly malicious. And although their subscription fees are exorbitant by most people's standards, there's no specific rule against overcharging for a product. So if a developer wants to charge £40 per month, for an app, they are free to do so. Furthermore, the fine print for Fleeceware apps are not inaccurate, they're simply misleading. Many people don't realize that there's a difference between a free app and a paid app with a free trial period. And they don't understand that uninstalling the app is not the same thing as unsubscribing from it. An important distinction that permits Fleeceware to charge users at the end of the trial. So how do we keep safe? The first, don't trust. You should always verify. You should always be mindful of what you are downloading and do a bit of research. We've said it many times on this platform that we've got to look out for reviews and see what others are saying about the app that we are about to download. So do a bit of research before putting anything on your device. It's also important to read the app's terms and conditions carefully and check out the developer's reputation and recent reviews. The second, keep track of your subscriptions. This is so valuable. Always read the small print, even or perhaps especially if it's in light gray fonts that's hard to see. Many of us say, oh, it's because it's so small we can't see it, hence it can't be important. That couldn't be further from the truth. If it's in small print, we must make sure we read it. The subscription goes with your Apple or Google account, and that's where you cancel it. If you just uninstall an app and expect that the subscription will end, unfortunately, like many, and I already said that I had the experience, the charge continues, and that's not something you want, especially for the higher priced applications. And we must get into the habit of preferring apps that allow us to trial an app for a certain period of time before you start exchanging payment details. That's our preference. That's the clinic's preference, and I hope that you will agree. If you're installing and uninstalling a lot of new apps or signing up for multiple free trials and then canceling, it can be surprisingly easy to lose track of the amount of subscriptions that you have. Thankfully, Apple have a way of checking this. In Apple, you just go to settings, and it's the first item where you have your name. And then if you click on that, it will take you to subscriptions, and you can see where it is just here. And if you click on subscriptions, if there's anything that's there that you don't use anymore or simply don't want going forward, cancel it by tapping on cancel subscription. When installing any paid app that has a free trial period, it's a good idea to set a reminder for yourself as a part of the process. Take note of when the trial ends and then set a calendar alert to remind you to review the subscription before the trial is over. There are many apps that we love, many apps that are particularly important for what we do, and if you've started a free trial, you must remember to cancel it if you no longer want to take it on. It's really important. But remember that uninstalling the app does not stop the subscription. So you must go to your Google account and cancel it like I've just shown you now. And the third, equally important, report any abuse to Apple. So if you feel that you've been fleeced by a developer, where you've inadvertently continued a subscription because of a misleading note in the trial period, you can report it to Apple, and Apple allow you do this. You do this by basically going to this URL, the one that you can see on the screen, reportaproblem.apple.com, and sign in with your Apple ID and password. Look for the offending app or subscription and click the report or report a problem button next to it, and simply follow the instructions in order to report an issue or request a refund. In general, the App Store is completely safe, in general. And if you consider how big these app stores are, we're talking millions, it is pretty difficult to keep a tab on everything. And so on occasion, you have the rogue developer, get through in an easier way than is normal. So the review process doesn't really flag some of the no-nos. And it is when those things happen that you have issues like this. But I know, just reading, that Apple and Google are doing their utmost, to keep these bad guys away from this store. Google, I know, have highlighted a lot of Fleeceware apps, and they removed them accordingly. Apple are doing the same. They're working hard to make sure that this is not affecting us as it seems to be doing at the moment. But by giving you the knowledge and precautions that you should employ, we work together to make this even more difficult for these guys to do. The clinic is planning live shows. What's a live show? Basically a live stream where I sit before you and take your questions for a whole hour. But to make sure that it's of benefit to you, I want you, all the members of this platform, to send in your questions. Send in your questions so that I can prepare accordingly, to answer them online. I think the live show will give us an opportunity. I know at the beginning of the launch, late last year, I mentioned that we'll be doing live streams and live Q&As. And this period where we are under a lockdown, and quite rightly so, as I said last week, we have an opportunity to engage in real time. And so please send your questions to the email address that's in the description, and let's engage, okay? And all the questions, as best as we can squeeze into an hour, will be presented, and I will try my best to answer all the questions. Several weeks ago, I believe it was 4 weeks ago, we raised a poll asking our members if they preferred the weekly upload format to a new format we were playing around with, which will be a daily release of videos. And based on the results from that poll, it's unanimous that you prefer the weekly uploads, and so we will continue with that. Okay? Thank you. The PowerPoint this week: refuse good advice and watch your plans fail. Take good counsel and watch them succeed. I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem. Until next week, please remain safe. God bless and goodbye.